Welcome to Love You Longmont. I'm your host, Beryl Durazo. Today, we are going to go visit some of my favorite people and places in and around Longmont. Our first guest is going to be John Cross, who is the lead faculty in the art department at Front Range Community College and a working artist. Let's see what he has in store for us. We're here with John Cross. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thank you. I'm good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So, John, we've met through the Firehouse Art Center, but for those of us that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm a Missouri native. I grew up in St. Charles, which is just outside of St. Louis. I went to school at SIU Edwardsville in Illinois, and then I got my graduate degree at Fontbonne University in St. Louis. And I started teaching around 2001. Did that for 11 years in the St. Louis area, and then landed a job in Sterling, Colorado. Taught there for a couple years, and then was fortunate enough not to have to stay in Sterling, and moved to Longmont, and currently I'm the lead of the art department at Front Range Community College, and full-time practicing artist. And welcome to my studio.
Thank you for having us. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do at Front Range Community College. You bring a bunch of shows to the community. You have some amazing students. Give us some more details.
Okay. Yeah, I took over as lead about 3 years ago, and it's been my main focus to build the program, make sure we're offering classes that students need so that they're prepared to go on to a 4-year university or whatever it is that they want to do with their art studies from there. And then also I'm just a big proponent of art should be everywhere. Mm-hmm. So we have art shows on the campus. We have art shows at the firehouse. Our student art shows are there every year. I try to have a faculty art show once a year to introduce the community and our students to what our fabulous art faculty do. You know, we're all practicing artists, and I think that's really important for the community to know that we do that, and for our students to know, you know, that we're not just, what do they call it, the sage on the stage, mm-hmm. that we actually practice what we preach. We all have studios and we all make some wonderful work.
That's great. So you're a practicing artist. You work in a lot of mediums, though. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'm very eclectic visually. I like to say I consume visual imagery kind of as a steady diet. I'm constantly looking at things, and as a result, I'm constantly inspired by different types of things. So I've never been a landscape artist or a portrait artist. I'm just an image maker, and so I let anything that grabs my attention and makes me think for more than a few seconds be the inspiration for my work. So if you look around my studio, there's paintings of plants, there's drawings of flowers, there are drawings of people, there's paintings on canvas, there's drawings on paper.
And it's not just in studio, it's on buildings too.
That's true, yes. Yeah. Lately, this is not something I ever planned to do, but public art seems to be a new avenue for me, and so I'm out there doing murals, and thanks to the firehouse, mm-hmm. started doing chalk art, which was a blast. So yeah, I try to keep my hands active with all kinds of materials as well. You know, I love drawing with charcoal. I love the immediacy of that. Mm-hmm. I'm an oil painter. I love what it can do, but I like to push its capabilities and its boundaries as far as surfaces especially, and techniques, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So some places around town people can catch your art. Rosalie's Pizzeria has a piece.
Absolutely. Left Hand Brewing Company has a large mural in their tasting room. And where else? I've taught a couple mural painting classes, and we've partnered with Art in Public Places in Longmont. And so we've got a few murals. There's a mural over by Kanemoto Park, mm-hmm. the Longmont mural. And then we just last summer did one at the new bicycle underpass by Oscar Blues at the Diagonal Highway. The freedom of it, the idea that I can take a visual image and use it as a form of communication to talk to an audience that I won't even meet, most likely. For me, especially because I teach and I make my living at that, I don't rely on selling my artwork in order to be able to produce my artwork. And for me, that frees me up to make any image that I want. It's never in my mind, I think this will sell. In my mind, it's, I need to paint this, I need to draw this needs to happen. And if it sells, that's fantastic, but it's never my goal. And so I think it's that freedom that comes along with it. And just living a creative life. I teach my students that, very few of them will end up becoming artists. That's just the reality of the art world. But all of them can be highly creative people in their lives, no matter what they do. And the kinds of things you learn when you become an artist lead to that really creative sense of problem solving and just looking at things from fresh perspectives constantly. Oh, sure, yeah. I've shown in, 20 different states. And I'm constantly shipping work off to some show or some other show. Last winter I drove to Minneapolis and back in 24 hours just to pick up a bunch of my artwork from a show there. So yeah, it's my love of getting art in front of people doesn't just extend to Longmont, it goes everywhere. I just want people to see interesting things that cause thought.
Yeah. So what do you love about Longmont?
Oh, I love the size of Longmont. It's very similar to my hometown. I love that everyone here seems to be an artist or a musician or a writer. My wife and I joke that as soon as you move to Longmont and register your address, they give you a dog and a guitar because that seems to be what everybody has. The community is so supportive of the arts. Everywhere you go, there's artwork. Everywhere I go, I know somebody who's an artist or a musician or a writer, somebody who's actively putting art out there into the community. And I just think that's a blast.
If you want to see more of John Cross's work, you can check out his website at johncrossart.com. Thank you so much for having us in your studio today.
Thank you, Beryl. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you again to John Cross for having us visit his studio. Be sure to check out the studio tour in downtown Longmont and throughout the community. Our next guest was a very interesting interview. That is Andy Epler. He is a well-known musician in our community, but he also is doing a lot more. So let's go check that out now. I'm here with Andy Epler. How are you, Andy?
I'm very well. How are you?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, you've been on the show before. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
What's been going on since the last time you were on the show?
Well, I really started expanding what I do. I'm mostly a musician, but I also wrote a book a few years ago, and I've done some paintings over the last few years. But just in the last few months, I've started really doing a lot more YouTube video work. And I've been doing a lot more with my podcast, Ando's Thinky Time podcast.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
It's the best podcast in town in that it is like the only podcast in town. So I love that kind of a marketplace. It is mostly me talking to very serious people and kind of bringing my artistic perspective into that conversation. So I've talked with people running for Congress or city council, or had old Mike Butler on the show a while back, public safety chief, hell of a nice guy. And I had a witch on the show.
Interesting conversations that you've had out of that show.
I did 2 episodes with a witch about witchcraft.
Oh.
And we did a bunch of witchcraft during the show. And I now have witchcraft happening in my home.
Okay.
Yeah. She gave me this little vial of, it's like a witch's potion, man. And she told me to put it on a $1 bill and nail it above my door. So every time I go under it, I'm blessing myself with finances.
Okay.
It hasn't worked great yet, but I love the idea of doing witchcraft.
And so the podcast, who do you have coming up on the show?
I just had my mentor from Texas come on the show. And I believe the next episode I'll probably just do by myself. Every once in a while I'll do an episode where it's me taking a bath, like a bubble bath, and telling a story. And I think I'll do that for my next episode.
That sounds difficult to do.
It's not safe. It's very relaxing, and I find that I can really tell a long story when I'm comfortable in like a well-fragranced bathtub, some lavender and some bubbles,
So what made you move into this realm, like, of podcasts and YouTube videos?
I guess the reason I got into music in the first place is because I'm a writer and a poet. And people don't want to sit around and listen to poetry very often, but they will listen to songs. So when I started singing my poetry, that's why I got into the music biz. But I'm really best at talking and explaining my perspective and being cheerful, and that's something I can do on a podcast, just push and play and going for it.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love doing it.
So you still do open mic nights around town? Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you for asking. I host an open mic at Grossenbart Brewing every Tuesday night at 6 p.m.
Awesome.
It's a good time. That's kind of become one of my go-to places in town. They're all, I guess, my go-to places. I work with like every brewery in town, and I love all the beers that we have in this town. But Grossenbart, something about the vibe over there, just
the fire pit in the back.
Yeah, the fire pit, and I don't know, just the group of folks that hang out over there. It just pleases me.
Awesome. So the Left Hand Artist Group is a pretty big artist group in town. If you're familiar with the art scene in Longmont, most people will know who they are, but you've had some involvement with them over the years, and they just had their label show. Tell us a little bit about what you did there.
Man, that was an insane evening, as it usually is with that artist group. I'm so proud to be affiliated with that group. Don Wilson, who's the leader of that group, is such a great leader, does a great job pulling the community together. At that particular show, I got to host the acoustic stage, and I got to, MC a fashion show, which was
unique.
It was unique in my experience. I like fashion and that kind of stuff, but these people were all dressed in like clothing made of beer labels, and I must say, trying to read off of a list while all these beautiful people are walking by me only wearing beer labels, it was hard to keep on my list, man. I wanted to not seem too into it. But it was tough to read anyway. I have trouble reading.
What was the most unique piece of clothing that you saw?
There was a giant samurai set of armor that someone made out of beer boxes and labels, and I think it was Robert Shea. He's one of my favorite artists in town. Plug for Robert Shea. He's the greatest, and a very handsome man, but he's got a great brain. And I think he made 3 or 4 of the items in that show. And it's just, I love the level of beauty and strangeness that we're able to accomplish with the Left Hand Artist Group. I think it's something Longmont needs.
You're a very sustainable group too. I mean,
pretty sustainable.
Reusing a lot of products that Left Hand Beer makes. I mean, it's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, and it's really a good thing for the arts business around town, because it's chiefly a networking group. So everybody is in that group to get to know each other and help each other out. That seems to be one of the things that has really pushed our community forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you've told us a lot today, lots of new things happening, but you're still a musician at heart, and you're going to be playing a song for us.
Yes, I'm so pleased to play music. It is my first love, because it unlocked a lot of my creativity, so I'm glad to be doing it today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. This is a brand new song I just wrote the other day, all about our future robot overlords. had a good run. The dawning of the robots was the twilight of someone, and it's you and me. We're the endangered ones. Our misdeeds came home to us like prodigal sons, and I wonder, in a couple years, once they out-evolve the brain, if there will be anyone left to still complain about this warning that the robots will take control. This is a warning that the robots will take control. It's over. You did a good job. But now there is no hiding from the cold, metallic lynch mob. And it's you and me. We were the foolish ones, planting all the bad times we would reap in metric tons. You can giggle if you want to, with your all-organic smile. Yeah, but we will all be bowing down in just a little while. This is a warning that the robots will take control. This is a warning that the robots will take control. It's already too late. Yeah, we're just seeing it now, but someday the grandkids will know exactly how. And this is a warning that the robots will take control. This is a warning that the robots will take control. Keep an eye on those computers, folks.
Well, better watch out for the robots. Thanks, Andy, for being on the show. Next, we're going to go visit with Chef Andrea at Kitchen Company. They're a downtown Longmont business who also has a kitchen in store, and they teach some local cooking classes. Let's go check it out. I'm here at Kitchen Company with Chef Andrea. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. So, how long have you been at the Kitchen Company?
I've actually been here about a month and a half. They just recently hired me to help ramp up the cooking class program that they already had established.
Fantastic. And what's your background?
So I went into a holistic culinary program in Boulder about 7 years ago now, and then since then I've been working at treatment centers. I worked as a chef at a treatment center for young adults with alcohol and drug addiction, and I also worked at a private club in Boulder, private dinner club in Boulder as well, and then also personal chefing, working with clients one-on-one, stuff like that.
Fantastic. And how did you find the Kitchen Company?
I just bought a house up here. I just moved to Longmont, and so I'd been hearing from different people that this was a great store, and when I came in and saw the kitchen, I thought maybe there's a possibility they might need somebody to help with the program. So, yeah.
So you kind of invented a job for yourself?
No, they were already kind of looking. I was just lucky enough to happen across them at the right time.
Awesome. That's great. And what do you love about Longmont?
I kind of love that not that many people know how great it is yet. I kind of appreciate the fact that it still does feel like that small town feel, and I hope that it can stay that way for a while.
And you have lots of classes coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about the different array of classes that you guys offer?
We do. We have a ton of different classes coming up. One of our bigger new things that we're starting right now is a kids camp. So that'll be at the end of August and into September, and then that's going to be a 5-day class for kids from the ages of 11 to 14. And basically they'll learn a lot of culinary skills that even most adults don't really know. Breaking down a chicken, just how to season things and balance things, stuff like that. But we'll also have a variety. We have making a cheese making class, bread making class, and then we do things from, I'll be doing a paleo class, and I'll also be doing a knife skills class, and that'll be every month, the knife skills.
Great. So tell us a little bit about knife skills. What are they going to be learning in a class like that?
Yeah, so basically it's a real introduction to using quality kitchen cutlery. It's focused on trying to bring people in and give them an opportunity to pick up a knife, use a knife, learn safe ways to use it, and learn more efficient ways to just speed up their time in the kitchen safely.
And what else does the kitchen company do here?
Well, we have a lot of amazing products. We have an amazing store, beautiful pans, pots, everything you can think of. And then gadgets, especially. We have a whole wall of gadgets for everything that you could.
Is that your favorite thing?
I don't know. I come and go with gadgets. Sometimes it's really impressive, and sometimes you just need a chef knife. That's it. So it really depends on the gadget. But
do you have a favorite item in store?
It's still probably knives.
Awesome.
Our knife selection is really amazing.
Kind of important for a chef, right?
It really is. It really is. And it's just a fundamental tool that you just need. So.
Well, anything else you want to share with us before we get started? What you'll be working on today?
Sure. I just wanted to kind of go through a brief highlights of what that knife skills class is going to be. Our first knife skills class will be on the 27th of July here, so it's coming up. And then, like I said, it'll be repeated every month. So if you can't get to it this July, then keep looking at the calendar on the website.
And what's the website?
The website, kitchencolongmont.com. kitchencolongmont.com. It's a long one.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and it looks like we've got a lot of vegetables and stuff to cut here.
Absolutely, yeah. So I thought I'd start out today talking about knife selection, since we do have a lot of knives for you to try out here at the store. There's 3 basic knives that you would want to get when you're starting your knife collection. Certainly you can go for a butcher block full of a set of knives if you'd like to, but these 3 are really the most important ones to have in your kitchen. So you're going to start off with your chef knife, which is standard between 8 and 10 inches long. You can still get 12 inches too if you're doing a lot of larger meat fabrication. But so you have the chef knife. It has the point, comes down to the heel, there's the bolster, and then there's the handle here, and then you can see that it's riveted through. So definitely that you can get, this knife here is a forged knife. You can tell because it has the bolster. A stamped knife, you would see that the handle would look like it's just affixed on there. And so a stamped knife is definitely lighter and a lower price point. The forged knife is definitely more durable and will last longer for you. The other 2 knives that are important to have in your collection at home is your paring knife, which is for more fine work, like if you were stemming a strawberry or doing some type of detail work for garnishes for a dish. And then also the bread knife. So the bread knife, of course, is for bread. It's called a bread knife, but it's also really essential because of these serrations to cut things that are very soft and tender, but you also need to get through the skin. So I got this beautiful heirloom tomato here, and then you can see how just by doing that sawing motion, you can cut straight through, and you can make very thin slices if you'd like with the bread knife for you there. It's a little easier and it's more delicate to softer items like this than a chef knife would be. So those are the 3 knives that we would definitely suggest starting off your collection with. And then you would want to come in and just give them a try and see which brand of knife you'd be interested in. After that, I'm going to go ahead and get this tomato out of the way here. If you were to come to one of our knife skills class, we would also go over basic knife cutting skills. So skills to be more efficient in the kitchen and to be safer in the kitchen. So I'm going to show you 2 different types of chopping. There is the low rock, which is for something that's kind of a lower profile vegetable. And what you're going to be doing is holding your knife with the pinch grip here and wrapping your hands around the handle of the knife. And then you're going to be coming in, forward, and back. So you're doing kind of a sawing motion again too with your knife, and that's the low rock. And the low rock means that your knife never leaves the cutting board. So I'll show you how that looks when you're doing it with a low profile vegetable. And you can see how I maintain control of the knife and the vegetables by keeping the knife on the board. Now when you have a higher profile vegetable, like this pepper here, you can't necessarily start with your knife on the board because the vegetable comes up beyond where your knife would be able to touch the board. So the high rock is just taking it from this same angle, same position, but just not touching the board. You go down until you touch the board, and then you come back through. So the high rock is for a higher profile vegetable like that. So those are two of your major knife cutting techniques to learn. We'll definitely go into different types of knife cuts that you would see in recipes, like the julienne, the brunoise, the large dice, medium dice, and small dice. And those are something that you definitely be able to check out when you come to one of our classes. So now we're going to talk a little bit about mincing. Now mincing is something you would do with smaller items like garlic or especially herbs like parsley, what I have here. So mincing, again, you're going to start with your point of your knife down on the cutting board, and you're basically just going to go in a V formation away from your hip. So kind of think about it coming out of your hip here and going away from your hip. Now if you need to gather those herbs, go ahead and flip your knife over, gather them back up again, and mince them this way. After a couple run-throughs, you'll be all set. You'll have your nice tiny little herbs to decorate any dish. So thank you for stopping by, and please check us out at kitchencolongmont.com.
Thank you, Chef Andrea. I learned a lot during that session. And thank you to all of our guests today. I'll see you next time on Love You Longmont.